This is John Kralzik, director and writer of Ascension, and what we're going to do now is look at some what I would call home movies. Some of this was shot for the purposes of testing lighting and so forth on sets. Some of it was kind of camcorder footage that was shot during the shooting of the film. These things would kind of give Carol an idea, Carol Klaus, the production designer, on how much detail to put into the set, whether the materials worked, whether something was too shiny or had to be brought down, and so forth. One of the things we tried to do is make this kind of metallic-looking structure, which basically was made out of mostly wood and plastic. I experimented with some camera moves, and we would look at things and decide, that needs to be dirtier, or that needs to be darker, or whatever. There's a shopping cart left over from the days when this space was a home center. This is actually where the lab was going to be built then. Here we go into the observation area up the steps, which were later coated with kind of a concrete looking material.
Hey Sharon, can you come here for a second?
Here we are. The construction is just about finished in the gateway area. This probably was before we started shooting. This is Sharon Gabriel, who is actually the editor on the film along with myself, and she doubled as a stand-in for the lighting. There actually was a back to the hallway, which I don't think we ever saw in the film. This gives you an idea of some of the detailing and so forth that went into it. We tried to put as much detail into the sets as possible, budget-wise and time-wise, so that there would be as little limitation as far as where we were pointing the camera, so that the sets would look as good as possible from whatever angle we decided to use in the photography of the film. Built-in fixtures above the doorways. This is the observation area. We're doing kind of a lighting test and so forth here. You can see where the set kind of ends at the top there. We had a bunch of monitors which we would feed from an array of VHS machines. So before we had to shoot, we would shoot all these scenes at 2997, which is the sync speed of a TV monitor. The problem with that, though, is that at 2997 we couldn't shoot sound. So any scene where you see a monitor in, we had to loop the sound in post-production. This is a test of the fog and smoke and so forth outside the window. Took us a while to figure out exactly how to get it to move so that it didn't look like the set was on fire.
Full orange gels, I think.
Yep.
Scene 7, shot 3, take 1, roll camera. Marker.
Action.
This is actually a piece of footage that we did for the TV monitors.
My purpose here is to gather information about the death of Dr. Burnett. We ask for your cooperation. Nothing more, nothing less. You understand?
What are you doing? Maintenance.
I guess I was just testing the lighting here with a video camera, but these guys were, Kurt and Paul were running through the scene.
Hayes. Thanks.
This is actually much later. The set we used for the galley was actually taken apart and reconverted into Sterner's workshop. And this is the lab. We had already started to cannibalize this set to finish pieces of the observation area, which was the last thing we shot. We did a lot of lighting with foam core bounces and so forth inside of this area. We had some lights, I believe, mounted up in the top. Parts of the top of this set weren't finished, so we put sound blankets and so forth in there. The thing that we ended up having to do, we shot this really in the middle of summer, and it was just stiflingly hot inside this set. So we ended up building an air conditioner into the set and blasting it between takes so that it would become at least reasonably cool. This is setting up the gateway shots where Paul rappels into the shot. This was shot, I think, around Thanksgiving, something like that. I'm actually wearing a jacket, so it wasn't that. The temperature was actually reasonable inside. Here's Carol doing some advanced art direction by. See, Paul's wearing a vest. That's Carol's dog, Friday. We had a lot of dogs on the set. This is looking up at the platform for the camera, and actually it held the rappelling device, which had to be built to support somebody.
Hold on. Before you do it, you don't want the landing light.
We had a running joke with Carol that everything was attached to one master screw, and that if we pulled it out, the whole thing would fall down. You'll see here in a second the precariousness of some of the construction, which was a little tape and some glue.
Storm!
These are some test shots on the models. We lowered the landing craft actually using a Pee-wee dolly, putting it on a grip arm. And this is actually taken from the video tap of the ARRI 2C, which shows the model. You'll see in a second we start our dust storm, and then we'll roll the camera. I think that's it.